Well, hello, everybody. This is yet another wonderful live stream / podcast episode here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are joined, as always, with my good friend, Cybernetic Shark, or Cyber, as we like to call them in short. You can call him Cyber. Cyber, how you doing?
I suppose so.
You all right?
I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm having a good time, as usual. And here's Yvonne. Round 2 of Yvonne. She's back. It's been What's going on with you, Yvonne? You doing all right?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back.
We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you. We love your energy. Yvonne is a big MCU fan.
Huge MCU fan. I actually debated whether I wanted to get like a tattoo, but then I didn't know how to make it. I didn't want it to be too big or too small. So now this is a whole thing now that I have to figure out.
That would be awesome. If you got an MCU tattoo, like you'd almost be like doing the same thing that the original 6 Avengers did. You know, they all got tattoos, right?
Yes, I saw them all and I love them. So I'm like,
awesome?
How do I make one that's like fan based?
I really dug that. Like Cyber, I don't know about you, but I love that aspect of them doing that as like people that they did that like as a group and everything, and they all actually did tattoos. Like I think they're the same ones.
Exact same tattoo, and majority of them got it. I know a couple of them didn't, but majority of them did get them. I believe it was like,
did not.
Yeah, it was like the main 5, I think, that got it. So.
Wow,
yeah, which I thought was pretty funny.
That for me, and I of course this is the Loki episode 3 review, but before we get to that, I just want to point out that for me, like that whole tattoo thing really like was evidence to me that like they really wanted to pay homage to the comic books and everything and whatnot, and like what Marvel's all about, really, like the core of Marvel, the essence of it. I felt like to like it's one thing to pay lip service. But in terms of like almost like fan service, or like an appreciation of Stan Lee and like the history of Marvel, to do the tattoos, I felt like was a great symbol, like of how grateful they are and like how this experience has changed them and altered their lives.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and it's all fundamentally based on like comic book stories. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. We can do a whole segment just on like what it must be like to be one of the original 6 and like be a part of the MCU and stuff like that. It's a fun topic.
Yeah.
But anyways, as far as like the whole MCU's Bleeding Edge goes, we are of course a podcast through Anchor, just like Yvonne, who's also on Anchor and has The Road to Damascus. Cybernetic Shark is a longtime YouTuber. He is a fellow Rizzler, just like myself. Does some podcasting himself, and is essentially a film critic or reviewer, or very knowledgeable in film. That's kind of his background and like what we rely on with him on the show. We appreciate, as always, all the support we get at the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are a newer podcast and YouTube channel and live stream, and we're kind of just dipping our foot in the water a little bit, but we're getting better every show, and we've got some really great people committed to contributing on these live streams and whatnot. And I really feel like you don't want to be too bold, but compared to other stuff I see on YouTube, like we're better. So I mean, it's pretty much that simple. I mean, like we're actually human beings, and like we don't come in here scripted and everything and whatnot. We're just trying to have a good time. We're MCU fans, and we also want to do a good job and be professional and informative. So Perry Ramsey and Cybernetic Shark and myself, Jeff, are the co-hosts of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Perry's having some technical issues tonight, unfortunately. So it looks like either he'll be joining us strictly audio or not at all. But either way, we love Perry. And he's a he's a vital part of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. If we don't have him tonight, we'll suffer a little bit, but we got Yvonne, so I mean, maybe she can.
I'm here.
a little extra weight, you know.
First time getting to work with this one.
I don't want to put any pressure on Yvonne. I'm just like
all the pressure.
All the pressure.
Oh, we already got our first comment. Hold on.
David R.
David is my friend. He's from Sakar. David is from Podcast of Champions, Sakar. Like, that's where he comes from. The
Thanks for the comment, David.
Podcast. Oh, and also, hold on. I'm not going to put this up, but I had a friend named Frankie that is from Rizzle as well. And long story short, but he's like spamming the show and like stalking me and shit because he has an anger problem and he has some kind of dispute with me. I have no idea what it's even about, to be completely honest with you. But either way, like I'm not gonna like sit here and like inject this like viral bullshit like on the show. So like Frankie, I just want to put it out to you, bro. Get a life, man. Like, you know what I mean? Leave me alone, dude. Like, I make real professional MCU content. You go do your thing, I'll do my thing, bro. Peace. Anyways, we don't need you in the comment section, Frankie. All right, man? Anyway, sorry about that, folks. So, truth is that David, again, is from Sakar.freeforums.net, which is the like home base of the Podcast of Champions. And we are connected with them on an Infinity Saga review series right now that we put on hold while we're covering the Loki series. And as soon as Loki episode 6 drops and we get past it, we'll start to get back into that with the Incredible Hulk, and Cyber and I and Perry will be, and Yvonne as well will be jumping on some more MCU reviews and MCU film reviews. But just to get things started off and get into like the actual meat of this live stream, this is a Loki Disney Plus episode 3 review. And just to kind of like start things off with like a real easy like tone, what did you think, Cyber, like overall, not anything specific, just what did you think about the feel of the episode overall?
This was actually the first episode that I felt was the kind of the dragging part of usually the series. I definitely didn't think overall this one was the best of the 3 episodes so far. The first 2 were so fantastic, and this one was kind of like a letdown a little bit. I was looking forward to a lot more in this one. This was also the shortest of the 3 episodes so far, too. So I think it's interesting that they kind of like lulled it a little bit with this one and kind of didn't give us too much to work with. I mean, they gave us a little bit of information, but they didn't really fully take it to the level, I feel, of the first 2 episodes.
Yvonne, on that same topic, what were your thoughts on Loki episode 2? Or 3? Did you watch it 5 times?
No, I only watched it twice, so not 5 times. But the same thing. I was looking on, on Twitter, on TikTok. People were going, "Hey, spoilers! Here's the new Loki episode. It's the best one ever." And I'm like, I didn't like this one. Like, out of the 3, it was really slow. And when it was done, I was like, that's it? I thought we were going to get something more. Like, you were building to something and then totally kind of let down. So, out of the 3 so far, it was not my favorite. I like some of the things that they're going to be bringing in the next couple episodes. Like, they're alluding to things happening. But yeah, episode 3 was kind of a bit of a letdown for me.
Most definitely. And David jumped in with a similar note. I agree this episode was a bit disappointing. Going back to David's initial comment, because I did pull it up, but I didn't actually verbalize what he had to say, and I just want to pay David the respect and everything and whatnot, since he comes on and everything, of just putting it out there. The group tat shows the value of the MCU to the actors, going back to what we were talking about before with the original 6 Avengers. Nobody leaves because the atmosphere is just so incredible, and that fat agreement is a part of that love. Or that tat agreement is a part of that love. Where I got fat, I have no idea. That didn't really make any sense. But, like, I think that's great, David. Like, thank you for opining on that because, like, again, the 3 of us could sit and have, like, a long dialogue on that topic just because we love the MCU so much. And I don't know how Cyber feels or how Yvonne feels really, but I mean, like, I like I mean, I think very highly of all the original 6 Avengers. Like, they're almost like family to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the, you watch the you see the picture, the end game picture, the big one where everyone's in there, and I still get disappointed to this day that Black Widow is not in that picture because she was an original. Right? So I'm like, it came to an end. She's not in that picture. She's one of the originals, same with the whole tattoo thing. There's something about the originals that really have set up the core of what MCU is.
Most definitely. Cyber, do you have any thoughts?
I would agree there with Yvonne there. I mean, they are, amazing. And like you were saying, you kind of grow to love the characters. You grow to kind of like, they become kind of like family. And I 100% agree with that. And then the fact, like, Yvonne was bringing out that, Scarlett Johansson, aka Black Widow, was not in that picture. You're kind of like, hey, wait a second. She was a part of the first 6. Come on. So I was like, kind of like,
As fans, I think we all really know, like, we realize the relevance of like of Scarlett Johansson in the original 6 and the Avengers and everything. Like, her role is cemented. You know what I mean? History, and I'll tell you what I think about is like, what are all of our thoughts going to be on these people like years from now when when there's more time put out there in between, the new MCU and like, and more time has passed with the older stuff. Like, I mean, like, how is that going to affect how we look at these films, these shows? I mean, there's really like, it's not just the Disney Plus series that are different from like the Infinity Saga films from a format standpoint. The tone and like the stories and like the dialogue has shifted, I think. You know what I mean? Like, they've definitely gone in a different direction. Like, I think deliberately with the MCU, and Kevin Feige and his whole team have. And I think that I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what you think, Cyber or Yvonne, but in terms of like, how they hold up these Disney Plus series, the episodes, like how impactful they are in contrast to, watching Iron Man, or like Captain Marvel. What is there for you on that, Yvonne? Like, what do you feel like is different for you with these series versus like the movies?
I really like this. What I like about the series is it has the opportunity to go a little bit more in depth than it does with a movie, right? Because a movie you get an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending, right? But then with a series, you get 6 episodes, an hour each, right? So they can really take that time. You couldn't watch an MCU movie and have any part of a lag in there, right? Could you imagine watching, Captain America, and then all of a sudden you're going and you're watching and then it lags? Like, I think people would have been super disappointed in that, right? So with the movies, there's always a hype, right? It's always building, you're always hitting a hype. With the TV shows, they can actually take their time and they can hit a little bit of a lag and then continue without it actually flopping, right? So then it can pull out the details and really string you along for what they're doing.
Cyber?
Yeah, I mean, the difference, you can see 100% the difference between the two varieties of these MCU, films. From, the original films, they have a set amount of time that they put into it and they put it out there as a movie. So they have a more cohesive story that they have to tell in a shorter amount of time. Whereas with the, series, they have more time to spread it out, and so you get more like a 6-hour movie versus a 2.5-hour film. But at the same time, though, you can see that they have to kind of change the format a little bit for the TV series because each episode has to kind of have a beginning, a middle, and an end, unfortunately. Sometimes they leave it kind of on a little bit of a cliffhanger, like with this last episode, they kind of did that. The episode before that, they kind of did that. And that's, your common thing for a lot of TV series. Unlike with movies, most of the time, they have the complete ending. Where, like each of the Avenger films, each of the, Iron Man's, the Captain America's, all of them had a very subsequent ending. Whereas the TV shows, have the liberty to be able to kind of leave it on a cliffhanger so that you are interested and want to come back for the next episode. And so you can see that, Marvel's trying to give us a little bit of a different take with these TV series versus the movies so that they can kind of keep them separated and show that they can do both types of formats.
So you like the continuity of it, but like, what do you think about the connective tissue in terms of the MCU right now in phase 4 with these Disney Plus series? No, taking into consideration that the pandemic affected the production schedule and release dates of the films and stuff like that, the Black Widow film, etc. Which we're going to play a Black Widow trailer in a little bit, since it's coming out in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And I know I'm going to be going to see it on the premiere night. I think it's a Friday when it comes out on July 9th. But like, what do you think, Cyber, about what do you think about the whole aspect of that major, facet of the Infinity Saga where there was that connective tissue that Kevin Feige put in place, and his team put in place, and all of the different directors and cinematographers and movie people they brought in to work on all the different projects? Do you think that once the films start coming out, like, we'll get back to that same vibe, or do you think that, like, maybe at this point we're not going to have that same type of relation?
I honestly think it'll probably be a different vibe. Simply the fact that now that we've completed the Infinity Saga, they probably want to take it in a different direction and give us something different than what we've seen in the last 23 films. So, especially with these TV shows, like Gregory 12 is saying here about the, the creative risks and liberties that they're able to take with the, TV shows. I think that's kind of what they're setting us up for, is that, since we haven't gotten an MCU film in, a year and a half, almost 2 years now, they're taking these TV shows to show us the direction that they want to take the MCU in. So I feel that how the TV shows are being presented is kind of how the next phase of films are probably going to be going. So I think that's kind of the direction that they're leading into, and kind of what that connective tissue will end up doing. And probably what that connective tissue that, Feige put into place, before the whole pandemic, ruined the whole scheduling and so forth.
Yvonne, do you want to take David's comment?
Yeah, it says the water cooler aspect of the trickle out series releases is a great way to get word of mouth hype for the series. It seems like far better marketing than the full season data dump binge. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? Because you watch the show, you watch one TikTok and it talks about Iron Man, but then now you're watching 6 weeks of content, right? So now people are getting hyped up more because the TV show. It leaves people, as Cyber says, it leaves people on a cliffhanger, right? So people are really excited, and that's probably the best thing MCU ever did was when they let those little tidbits at the end of the credits. They knew how to make a cliffhanger because people will come back if there's a cliffhanger, and they did it perfectly when they did it in a movie. But now they can go extreme in a TV show, right? They're like really leaving us. Come back in a week. Like, make sure you have your subscription. Let's all talk about, was there Easter egg here? How did it go there? How did you find it in a movie? This is the buzz that it's happening now. But one of the things that I find interesting is this almost seems parallel to what was happening in Star Wars. Not the show. What I'm talking about is that Star Wars, when it first came out, the first couple of movies, it's old school, and then you have the new school stuff that came out, right? And so it went a whole different direction than what is happening right now. And so you have people who are fans of the original who don't like the new stuff, and it looks like that's MCU is doing the exact same thing. You have the originals that came out, they love it. Now they're going a different direction, and you're going to have the new generation of kids who love this new stuff that's coming out, and they'll be going, oh, I didn't know that there was these movies before. Does that make sense?
Totally. I get where you're going with it. I
Yeah.
totally understand. Yeah. I mean, kind of like what I was saying before too. It's kind of like that, or like even David are saying, the trickle effect. That's kind of like what they did with the Star Wars films. You know, we went that huge hiatus without getting new ones, and then we got the new ones every 3 years.
Yeah.
Then we went on another hiatus, had those other 3, and so it's kind of the same thing that they're trying to do with the MCU. Like I was saying before about the TV shows, is kind of the entrance into that new path. So
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's a little like side note to put out here for I know Taylor and David, I think, are in the comment section. So, hey, Taylor. Hey, David. Thanks for being on. Thanks for joining us. But to you too, Yvonne and Cyber, I know you guys have probably heard about the idea, the concept that Disney might buy DC Comics and the DC movie characters and everything, their rights. Now that maybe that's already been like, killed off already. I don't know. But Cyber, what do you think about that? Did you hear about that?
I feel I heard a little bit about it. Like, I've heard, like, in the grapevine, like, a little bit about that being a possibility. I honestly think that would not be a great idea, simply for the fact that, DCU, the DCEU, who is, pretty much owned by Warner Brothers at the moment, if Warner Brothers was to let that go, that basically would put them out of business, I feel. Because, simple fact, even though a lot of their films they feel like they have bombed and aren't as good, but with the success of like Shazam and the Birds of Prey and so forth, I feel that would put Disney at the biggest advantage out of all the movie studios, basically owning almost all the rights to everything, basically. And on a financial level and for a business level, that would not be wise for Warner Brothers to do that. But at the same time, it's like Disney, keeps buying up these things. Now, they just bought Fox, and they're taking on all their properties, and so now they have the X-Men, so that's a new feature that they're going to, basically bring into the MCU. I honestly think they shouldn't do that, because I think mixing MCU and DCU together wouldn't be classy. And to keep them separate and away from each other, I feel that's going to show the best competition. That's just my personal thoughts, though.
I can't remember. Does Marvel does Disney Plus already have some of the Fox X-Men films on their roster on Disney Plus?
Yeah,
they do, but they don't have the newer ones, right?
They do.
Yeah,
oh, they do. Oh, they do have all. Okay, okay. What do you think, Yvonne? Do you think it would be a positive thing if Disney bought DC Comics and had access to all those, to Batman, for instance?
No. You grew up, you either liked one or the other. You can't like both. So just don't mix them. That's what I think. You have to choose, right? Either you're diehard DC or you're like diehard MC, and it's one or the other. And, I just think it would be a disservice to everybody if you mix them.
Well, sort of. I mean, like I'll be honest with you. I'm a DC fan. I'm a Marvel fan. I mean, this is the MCU's bleeding edge. I'm all about Marvel. Like I'm not buying DC T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have this on my chest because I'm like a Superman fan. But I like DC Comics. Like back in the day when I was a kid, and like I did all my comic book reading for the most part. I had Superman comics. I had Batman. Like I like the Justice League and everything. Like they had some good comics. Superman's a great character. Batman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time. He really is. And I'm actually really, really like excited and like pumped to see the new Robert Pattinson from Twilight Batman that's going to be coming out in 2022. We might put that trailer up at some point, maybe at the end of the show or whatever. I love it. If people out there haven't seen it yet, it's great. But I mean, yeah, everybody I've talked to about this is like, it doesn't sound good. I don't like it. Like, I don't think Disney should do it. Like, I don't like how, I don't think it's going to be a positive thing. I do think that, like, for me, I want people to I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not like a super knowledgeable DC person at all. Like, I don't follow the DCEU. I don't watch The Flash. I don't watch the Arrowverse. So I'm not going to pretend that I know, I'm knowledgeable really in that area. I'm a learning DCU fan, basically. But not to get too far astray and to get like back into Loki. Just to start things off, when it comes to Loki episode 3, starting off with you, Yvonne. Now, we've talked about this already, although you weren't here yet at that point, Yvonne. Is this the Enchantress or is this Lady Loki, do you think, like that we saw in episode 3 and in episode 2?
I think she's both. I think they took both characters from the comics and they made her one, right? Because she goes, I don't go by Loki anymore. I go by Sylvie, right? So it was an obvious reference that, that's Lady Loki / Enchantress. And that's the thing, right? Because is she going to have a spin-off series? Maybe a TV series, maybe, I don't know. But I think they took both characters because they're trying to pull as much as they can from the comics. So yeah, I think they made her both.
Cyber?
I agree. I mean, the point in the episode where she goes, I don't go by Loki anymore, I'm Sylvie. I mean, that right there to me was saying, oh, they are pushing the Sylvia storyline along. And like Yvonne was saying, I feel that they're mashing them together and putting them into one character just so that they can get as much content out as possible as well. I agree with that. And also, I think that would be a smarter choice because those two storylines are so fascinating and fun. And like in each of the comic books that they created those, different storylines, they were just always really fun and enjoyable to read. And so I think that taking both concepts and adding them together, you're going to give fan service to all the different people that might have only read one of the timelines or one of the stories. So I think that is a nice way of like bringing that character to life.
Yeah.
Excellent. And essentially, the Enchantress is a character that came out around the Ragnarok area, like of the Thor comic book timeline, around the same time where Loki came out. The two characters actually relate in terms of their origin stories because the Enchantress was introduced in Marvel Comics right around the same time as Lady Loki during the Ragnarok run of Thor, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not a heavily invested Thor comic book fan these days, but I do know about that arc. And essentially, the character, the Enchantress, is actually called Amora. That is her name, Amora. And getting past that, I feel like I haven't done a lot of research in terms of what the whole online community or YouTube community are saying about this question of what this character is. But I feel like what Cyber said and what Yvonne said is probably accurate in terms of what's really going on. I think that they're just saving space by, putting the two characters together and essentially giving Lady Loki the powers of the Enchantress with the whole ability to be able to enchant people and everything. What did you think, Cyber? What did you think of that short scene in the beginning where Sylvie enchanted Sasha Lane, the Minutemen?
That was an interesting scene, I thought. I thought it was interesting that they did a flashback right at the beginning of the episode and showing you what actually happened to that TVA agent. Because, as we saw her in the last episode, she was like kind of like baffled in what's going on. And she's like, like that. So it was kind of nice to see actually what happened to her and why she was acting like that. So I thought that was very clever of Marvel on their part to do that and give us that interesting scene. I mean, and the whole thoughts like behind it too are really fun because like all of a sudden like she's in one scene and then all of a sudden she's in another restaurant and then another restaurant and she's starting to figure out, oh, this is a dream, I'm not really here. And kind of like how Sylvie kept asking her about where the the entities are basically. It was just a kind of a cool like info war, I would say, on a little bit more about what is behind Sylvie's intentions on what she's trying to do with the TVA.
What did you think, Yvonne? How did you feel? What did you think of that scene?
I think it was a great setup for the bomb that they dropped later on, right? When they said when they figured out that, oh, the TVA didn't just magically appear somewhere. Like they really set it up fantastically doing that. But you know, when Cyber says it's the war on the mind too, we get to really see the powers that Sylvie has, you know, and how she works them. Which is really cool. And I like how they did a follow through with, you know, why that one was taken. So there was this really great follow through. So it blends really nice in the episode, but it really builds on why that was so important for later on for the information that we're given.
Well, we're going to be doing a segment towards the end of the show. Either it'll be the final segment or like the second, you know, the last one, where we get into the Rotten Tomatoes reviews of Loki episode 3. And I'll get, obviously, Yvonne and Cyber's opinions on those reviews, and we'll try to make sure that we get the good ones and the ones that like we hopefully don't agree with, so we can talk some shit. You know, because we're very optimistic MCU fans over here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and we like what Marvel does. So like, you know, we're not out here trying to slam anybody, or but at the same time we're fair. We want to critique, you know, this Disney Plus series. We want to critique Loki in a fair and accurate way. And I really think that honestly, it was really kind of like it threw me off a little bit when the enchanting happened in the beginning of the episode, just because all of a sudden you saw Sylvie in like our reality, like with regular clothes on and everything, and sitting at like an Applebee's or whatever, you know, like, or whatever it hypothetically was, having a margarita, you know, like, and there's Sasha Lane or whatever, you know, the hunter, like in real life, just like chilling. And it was like a major, like, you know, realization that, to me, like, it really came out of nowhere to me that the TVA employees were not really just created by the timekeepers, because that's really what I thought was going on. I was kind of shocked, like, oh, okay, they're all variants, you know, like, spoiler warning, everybody, if you haven't seen Loki episode 3, I'm sorry, but we're going full dive into it. So every aspect that's important is going to be flushed out here. So like, you probably, if you're here, you should probably leave. But so
spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Should have said something at the beginning. My bad. So okay, so if all the TVA employees are variants, right? All of a sudden, what do you guys think about that wrinkle, Yvonne? Like, what's your thoughts on that? You know, in terms of how that impacts the entire overall view of the TVA.
Well, it's hard to say because you still don't know where we're going with it yet. And that's the problem, right? Like they release so much information, yet not enough information to decide where we're going. So I don't really know where we're going and which direction we're going. But what I do see is that so Mobius, obviously, with his love of jet skis, right? I'm like, so he is from the 90s. Right. So that in the time frame, to be honest, that's like Captain Marvel's time right there too. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I'm pulling all this information there. But honestly, I just start thinking maybe the timekeepers are the bad guys. Maybe they're the bad guys. Maybe they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing to keep a lid on something that shouldn't be happening. So I just can't help but think, you know, bad things about them now. I used to like them. And now I don't know if I like them anymore.
What are your thoughts, Cyber?
I mean, I totally agree there with Yvonne. Like, the TVA could be the bad guys. They really could be. I mean, with the fact in this episode that they talk about, you know, that, you know, when female Loki or Sylvie basically says, you know, there are variants that are a part of the TVA. They're not all, you know, just miraculously, you know, grow. You know, that right there was a really big, like, flag saying maybe there's something more to this and there's more that we haven't learned yet. So, I mean, that in itself really is proving that, you know, TVA could be behind what's going on, could be doing something evil. We don't know yet. And so until we actually discover that, we're really not going to know, which I think is a really great ploy by, you know, Marvel in keeping the story going and giving us this really interesting, you know, concept that we don't know who the bad guy is, and that's kind of cool. Like, you know, that keeps you interested. I like that whole aspect.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I think it was me and Perry earlier. Cyber. I don't think I don't think I mentioned this to you or brought this up to you. But what do you think about the whole idea that maybe going back to something we already talked about earlier in the show? Maybe maybe there's not going to be a villain on this series. Like, and like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think, Cyber? Like, is that a possibility that maybe Marvel and Kevin Feige are changing the formula a little bit and like kind of maybe with Loki, because it's Loki, like they're gonna go in a different direction in terms of what the entire plot or story of the series is going to be altogether.
I don't think there will not be a main bad guy. Just maybe there won't be a finishing point for the bad guy in this season because they are doing 2 more seasons. So the possibility of like it kind of being led on that there's not really a bad guy, but there truly is. It just might not be foretold in this season. So I don't think that there won't be a bad guy, but I do think that it'll be drawn out through the couple seasons instead of just, being ended and so forth.
I would just want to mention, because I have the graphic right there right now, so I'll just point out that Mbatha-Raw plays Ravonna Renslayer, who is the judge that you see in episode 3 that tangles with Loki and Sylvie in the beginning of the episode. She's apparently now at the TVA in the comic books. She is Kang's love interest. So, maybe we'll talk about this later, but we could see Kang potentially in this show, which I think would be great. I mean, me personally, like, I'm not going to get into Kang because, he's not that well known of a character really for a lot of people out there. So, but I mean, I think that he's got a lot of potential as a villain. And I'd love to see him just pop up in cameo in like episode 5 or 6 or something like that. But
Yeah.
Yvonne,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts like I was saying to Cyber about the whole concept that maybe there might not be a main baddie in like the series?
I can't see it. I can't see it. You watch any MCU movie, you watch any, like any of the shows that we've seen. We saw WandaVision. We've watched, we have seen, what is it, Winter Soldier and all that. Like we've seen all of them. And what we see is that there's always a bad guy. It's always a bad guy. Like through all of them, there's a bad guy. So like what I just want to, there's going to be a bad guy. There has to be somebody that this is happening, whether it's the TVA, whether it ends up being so, like there is going to be a bad guy. That's what I just think. So.
Okay. Well said. So going back to David in the comment section real quick. The problem with the new Star Wars films is it's virtually unrecognizable for most original fans, which creates a divide compared to Marvel, who seem to set on expanding its fan base by trying new things. Okay, that's very fair, David. Honestly, David, at some point in the future, you should really just think about trying to figure out your Wi-Fi issues over there, whatever state you live in, so you can just come on and join me and Cyber and Yvonne and put some comments out here in one of these review videos. We'd love to have you, but we appreciate you and being in the comment section. And I mean, look, I'm not Cyber knows a lot more about Star Wars than I do. Pays more attention to that whole sphere of things. But I agree that for me as a Star Wars fan, things are pretty much virtually unrecognizable in terms of what the original concepts of Star Wars were. And I feel like with Marvel, I don't know. There are people out there that complain, that say that like Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige don't stick to the canon enough. Like I get that still from people like out there that like there's still a lot of like old school comic book or like old school like X-Men animated, show like watching type like Marvel fans that are like, I can't stand that Kevin Feige doesn't stick with the comics. You know what I mean? He doesn't stick with the original stories. Cyber, what do you think about that?
I mean, honestly, like, I get where David's coming from, or Gregory, I should say. Actually, Gregory is the one that posted the comment.
Oh, Gregory, I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, it is very unrecognizable because they did change the formula after the first original 3 films, and it did change a lot. But at the same time, I feel when the new prequel series came out, the very first one, the Shadow Force Awakens, I feel that was a complete copy of A New Hope. Unfortunately, that's just my opinion on it. I felt it was exactly the exact same film, and I feel that were trying to bring back that same formula that the original did, but I don't think it did as well as they thought it was going to. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, I would say because of the CGI improvement, the storyline and so forth, it did change dramatically between the 9 films. So I totally get where Gregory's coming from, and I agree with him as well.
Yvonne, if you want to take on that whole question or topic right there quick, and then also after that follow up and take care of Gregory's other message here.
Yeah, so it's really hard because if you stick too close to the comics, there's going to be the comic fans who are going to they're going to nitpick every single thing that you do. At the same time, like I told my kids the other day, I'm like, can we have a time of when MCU is going to be done? Because if I die before it's all released, like I'm going to be very angry about this. So, I mean, like this could be like a 50-year franchise if we do it like every story and every episode, like it would be forever. So I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring like amazing comics to life, and something just, it has to give. It just has to. Yeah.
You want to go ahead and take the Gregory's comment that I threw up on the screen here?
Yeah. Okay, so did anyone notice some of the romantic undertones between Sylvie and Loki, or was it just me? Okay, I'm going to tell you what I think. Do you know why I think there's a lot of romantic undertones? Is because he loves himself way too much. Like every movie I have seen Loki in, he loves himself. So of course there's going to be romantic undertones because he loves himself so much. So it's just going to be there.
Supposedly there was this whole bisexual theme to like at some part of the episode I read, but I don't know what I didn't see it myself, but apparently like one of the scenes was shot with like a lighting that like was supposed to embolden like these certain colors with like the costumes of the characters that all align with like the LGBT flag or whatever or something like that. I didn't notice anything like that. From David, we have, is that masturbation or incest as far as like the Loki Sylvie hey, you know what? On the MCU's Bleeding Edge, we like at masturbation being thrown up there as a part of like the comments. You know, why not? It's interesting. It's definitely not an Infinity Saga like keyword or like a typical Marvel terminology, but either way, moving on from that. From Gregory, there has to be a villain. That's just the rules. LOL. Yeah, I mean, that's how I thought things used to work in the MCU. I thought there had to be a villain, but at this point right now, without getting like too revealing in terms of what my theories are for the whole, overall series with Loki, maybe till later in the episode, I have a feeling that maybe you never know, they might do something different. But keeping up again with the comment section, from David R., this show is incredibly cerebral compared to most of the MCU comparable villain fighting. The mystery of the TVA almost seems like the villain role, while Sylvie is the illusion of one. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Sylvie right now is like going to be an anti-hero based on her trajectory of her arc right now. Even though she's a little rough, like attitude-wise and everything and whatnot, and kind of like brutal. I think that like she is like there's a reason why she's doing what she's doing, and whatever that reason is, it's at least partially positive. Like she's trying to fix something and correct something. And in terms of this show is incredibly cerebral compared to most of the MCU comparable with villain fighting. Yes, like I definitely agree that it's very much deviated from your typical like Iron Man, plot where like with the original Iron Man, you got the terrorists that are a villain, and then you've got Obadiah Stane that becomes the Ironmonger. He's the main baddie, you're not surprised when he pops up and everything and whatnot. You know what's going on. Tony Stark kicks his ass, and like there you go. There's like the MCU, formula in terms of like the films there for a while. And of course, Cyber, I know you know, and Yvonne, I know you know too, that there's a lot of fans out there that laugh at that whole formula, like that, like think it's kind of like stupid sometimes when things are that simple with MCU films. But sticking to Loki episode 3, Lamentis was the name of the episode, a verb form of lamentar. And essentially we end up moving on from Ravenna Renslayer like taking on Loki and Sylvie at the TVA to a moon soon to be crushed by a planet. And that's like the whole I guess that's probably like the middle of the episode or whatever, or like towards the and then into the end of the episode. That's the setting. But what do you guys think, to kind of like break things down a little bit more production wise? Cyber, what do you think of the directing Kate Herron did with this series so far?
So far, I mean, she's done a pretty decent job, I thought. I think that, she has a pretty decent eye for, the layout of the film. The digital arts and the graphics and so forth have been really done well the last 3 episodes. And so I think she's had a really great visualization of what she wanted things to look like and kind of place things how they should be. And I think she's doing a decent job. I haven't seen really any bad directing at all in this series so far. I mean, like I said, this last episode was a little lackluster versus the first 2, episodes, but still at the same time, I think she's still doing a good job. And I think that she's leading it in a good direction.
What do you think, Yvonne?
Yeah, I agree. I like everything that's happening right now, because we're so used to just having MCU, like have a start, a middle and an end, right? Sometimes it's hard for us fans to be like, what? I didn't finish what I needed and now I have to go watch it. But you can see the direction that she's going. You can see that she's really mapped it out really well. And I'm really excited to see, the direction that we're going to be going into.
Yvonne, sticking with the Lady Loki or Enchantress character, what do you think of the acting in this episode and the actress in general, Sophia Di Martino, playing this character?
I like her. I think she's great. I think she is exactly what a female Loki would be. You see, so we watch Tom Hiddleston, like play Loki, and it's cute and adorable and things like that. And then we look at a female version of that, and some people are like, "Oh, I don't really like her." That's what Loki is like to some people who don't know that type of personality, right? So when you look at the female version of her, the kind of standoffish and the joking and the sarcasm thing, I'm like, yeah, I think she plays her extremely well. I really like her.
Cyber, you are the film expert on the MCU's Bleeding Edge. What do you think of Sophia Di Martino so far playing this character?
Honestly, I think she's decent. She isn't anything great, but she's definitely decent in the role that she's providing. Like Yvonne was saying, yeah, some people might not like her because she is the female version of Loki, and that you might love Tom Hiddleston as Loki, but you might not like her because she's the female version. But at the same time, Loki is one of my all-time favorite characters of the franchise from beginning to now. And I absolutely think Tom Hiddleston is perfection as Loki. So this gal having to keep up with that, bravado that, Tom Hiddleston has brought, I think she's doing a decent job. As an actress herself, I don't think she's anything that great. I don't know what else she's done. I haven't seen her in anything else. I know the name. I think she's probably been other things doing little bit parts and stuff like that. But from not having much of a reference on what else she's done, I gotta say, I think she's subpar or decent in the role, and that she's doing her job, that she's keeping up with Tom Hiddleston in the show and giving us a good, back and forth banter between the two type of Loki characters. And but nothing, I would say, like, of super caliber at all, but still a decent, job.
Okay, great. I mean, dropping real quick over to Gregory in the comment section. Hey, Jeff, it's Legend from the DAO and Legend show, brother, by the way. I'm assuming that's Gregory's talking about Stereo app. I could be wrong, but I think that's what he's talking about. And hey, what's up, Gregory? It's good to talk to you, brother. Good to have you on the show, man. We appreciate you, your comments and everything and whatnot, and you listening and watching the show, or however you're, taking it in. But yeah, I think you're from Stereo app, and listen, man, we should collaborate sometime. Anytime on some MCU content or whatever. Just so you know, folks, Cyber and I are both on Stereo app. Stereo is like a live podcasting app, and we're doing some MCU's Bleeding Edge episodes on there here and there. Just so you know, if you want to maybe try something different, go on the Play Store or the App Store and just grab Stereo. It's a really interesting app. We're on there. We have a presence. But guys, why don't we take a breather, and just to make things interesting and change things up a little bit, why don't I go ahead and play the Loki episode 3 promos that came out?
Let's do it. Do it. And just before that goes up, I just want to say that, Gregory here, he also mentioned a cool little factoid here. The planet is supposed to be at the edge of the Kree space, so possibly a small Easter egg there. I think that's a really good point, because I wouldn't have thought of that until he mentioned that, and I think that's a really great comment. So thanks, Gregory, for mentioning that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the most valuable aspects of having a comment section. I can tell you right now is that people point out things that end up being worth talking about for us. And Cyber and I are both from Rizzle. There is no comment section on Rizzle. You know what I mean? So it kind of stinks, to be honest with you. You never really, you don't get that reaction from your supporters and your fans and friends out there and everything. But
rated PG-13. Tickets and pre-orders available now. Experience it July 9th.
Okay, that's a dope trail. That was a dope little mini trailer. It really was. I'm stoked for Black Widow. I really am.
I'd say that's their best.
Variance been killing our Minutemen.
And you need the God of Mischief to help you stop them.
That's right.
Why me?
The variant we're hunting is you.
I beg your pardon?
Someone's changing the proper flow of time.
And you need me to help you stop them.
It is adorable that you think you could possibly manipulate me. I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I'd never do it again.
Now streaming only on Disney Plus.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I am Loki, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Glorious purpose.
Glorious. You gotta be kidding me.
This Wednesday,
You could be hiding
anywhere, anytime.
How nice to meet you.
This isn't about you.
Cheers to me. Come on. What did you expect?
This isn't about you.
On behalf of the Time Variance Authority, I hereby arrest you for crimes against the sacred timeline.
So everything is written. Past, present, future. There's no such thing as free will.
I need your unique Loki perspective.
Come on. What did you expect? You better be ready.
If you could possibly sheathe your smarm for a moment, I have an offer for you. That's why I found you. Glorious.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I like that last one.
Yeah.
So
I never saw the last one before.
Oh no, you didn't see that one?
No.
That was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how they wove in like stuff from Infinity War and Thor: The Dark World and all that into it and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The Black Widow mini trailer that we played, I wish I would have grabbed a longer trailer for Black Widow, to be honest with you, because like I should have. But that mini one was great. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I mean, let's be realistic here. The whole pandemic and everything threw things off to the point where I was more excited about Black Widow when I thought it was coming out in like November 2020 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? But I'm kind of getting more like re-excited again, like for an MCU film. Like it's just we haven't had one for so long that it almost feels weird in a way, like knowing that one's coming out, you know, and of course, like one's coming out, but it's Black Widow, and like the character's dead, so it's interesting, you know what I mean? It's a very weird deal, like in a way, you know, and I think like when it boils down to it, I don't like to nitpick when it comes to Marvel Studios, but I do think there's a reality where, pandemic or not, I think that when it comes to Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, they could have done the Black Widow film like in between Infinity War and Endgame. Like instead of Captain Marvel, they could have done Black Widow. You know, like what do you think, Cyber?
I mean, in all honesty, I mean it's interesting altogether. You know what I mean? Just the direction they're taking it. At the same time, yeah, like you were saying, you know, we've been so long without an MCU film. It feels very weird because we're used to not having, you know, an MCU film come out for so long now because we were so used to them coming out, you know, 3 a year. So, I mean, you know, Spider-Man Far From Home being the last one that got released, I mean, it's been that long since we got one. So it's like knowing that Black Widow's only a week, you know, a half away to coming out, you're like, holy crap, I'm actually getting an MCU film? Like, what? So it's like, you're just kind of like, you're kind of in awe because of, you know, that factoid of that pandemic causing that. But at the same time, you're looking really excited and forward to it because you're going to see exactly, you know, where Feige and Marvel Studios is going with their next, phase and what they're going to try to change that's going to evolve from what the Infinity Saga was. So, I mean, it's all interesting and really fun all at the same time.
See, I feel like it's muted, the impact and everything and the relevance of the film just because of the fact that, again, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the whole flashback aspect of what they're trying to do, but I feel like they're breaking up the connectivity of the MCU that like was such an important factor of why as fans we're so deeply connected to the films when they come out. When Infinity War came out, we couldn't wait to see what the hell was going to happen next with the Avengers and the whole concept of introducing all these different, MCU characters into the Avengers universe. It was exciting and it was interesting and it was bold and different and you know what I mean? And again, all connected. And then Endgame, same thing. So with Black Widow, Yvonne, what do you think? Like, I don't want to say that it loses its luster. I'm sure it'll be a great film, but it's weird, isn't it? Like how things worked out with the movie and its release and everything.
Yeah, I probably would have liked it released around the same time as Captain Marvel, like between maybe Infinity and Endgame. Like it would have been nice to see it before, we know that she died. So like then it's not just her death in Endgame. Like everybody felt that, everybody was like very emotional about that, but it could have had a greater impact. Like when Iron Man died, it was because we were with him along the journey. We knew his past. We knew what happened to his dad. Like we were connected to that, right? And so with Black Widow, we could have had the same thing. So when she died, like that impact would have been so big. So I would have liked to see it then. It's not going to stop me loving the movie now. I've been waiting so long for it. And I think the impact is still going to be huge because number one, we're all coming out of quarantine. So everybody wants to get into a theater with people, and, with the movie choices out there, like Black Widow is probably going to be the top one that most people pick. So they're still going to hit it. How they want to. I think it could have had a greater impact if it was shown before Endgame.
Most definitely. And I mean, I don't want to deviate too much, or be too overly critical, but I will assert as always that I maintain that Captain Marvel blows as a movie. It is terrible. And essentially you're better off just like taking I mean,
horrible.
Seriously, it's horrible. And I don't care what anybody says. I've come around to the point where it's the worst MCU film I think out there. Like really, when it boils down to it, Thor: The Dark World is better than like Captain Marvel. Like it is, to me anyway. The Incredible Hulk is better than Captain Marvel. I think it is. It's just a better movie. Like it really is. Brie Larson. I just watched Infinite with Mark Wahlberg. And like his acting is terrible in the movie. It's horrible. Like it's a joke. And like Brie Larson is below that with her acting in Captain Marvel. Like you want to talk about one face, like one expression for everything. Like that's Brie Larson. It's like, a bomb explodes or some shit. And like her reaction is the same. Like some like crazy emotional love thing happens. It's the same face. Like it never changes. It's like, okay. Then she's fighting Thanos, same face. Like Thanos headbutts her, and she's just like, it's funny. But anyways,
I have a theory for that. I think it's because the way that she was trained. She was trained not to feel. She was trained to only think with her head, and so she doesn't have emotion in the things that she does. So, I mean, if I look at that perspective, it actually is right on par to what she was trained. She was trained not to be emotional.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
so every part, yeah.
Yeah, the real whole comic book origin of Carol Danvers and who she really is as a character and all that. like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, Yvonne. I just wanted to point that out that like there is this whole like opinion out there that the reason why Brie Larson was so like stone-faced throughout the entire film was because that's how they wanted her to play the character. Like they wanted her to be like that.
I think so, and I know that it's either you hate it or you love it, right? It's just one of those movies, like you like it or you don't like it. I think that she had to play that way, and if I go in that perspective that she played that way, I think she did a really good job because Yeah, it would be hard to just be stone-faced all the time and have no emotion, but it makes sense. Like they built it up to that point. Like she was being trained to just not be emotion, right? Like her emotion was what tapped into her power. They didn't want her to have it, so they trained her not to be that way.
So if she actually made a good movie that didn't suck, like would you bake her a birthday cake?
Okay, listen, I'm telling you, if Captain Marvel 2 and like the Marvels come out and we're still on the same track, I'm gonna have to retract everything that I just said.
That's funny. Well, I've already told you, I'm optimistic about. Oh, we lost Cyber for a minute. I'm sure he'll be back. But no, I'm optimistic about Captain Marvel 2. I hate the title. I do. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't think it's catchy or like fun. The Marvels or whatever. Like, I think
Cyber's back.
Hey, Cyber, what's up, man?
I have no idea why it just all of a sudden did that. That's what it did last time too. I don't know why.
Maybe it was Brie Larson. Maybe
I think she's evil.
And she was like so like upset and emotional about like me slamming. I want to be
maybe. I think
because I slammed Captain Marvel. That like she decided to take Cyber out real quick just to let us know.
Guess so. I mean, the comments that Gregory's making though are on point though.
Hold on, I'll pull them up. I was looking at one of Gregory's old comments where it said, "Hey Jeff, it's Legend from the D-Lo and Legend show, brother." By the way, like all I saw from like the corner of my eye was like blowjob. I was like, what? Like, okay, like, but whatever.
I think he was telling you he's D-Lo from Stereo.
Yeah, it looked like blowjob for a minute. That might be the Red's Wicked Apple Ale affecting my my visual prowess.
I think so.
Because that's not what I saw.
Well, I'm not drinking alone. Yvonne is drinking alcohol, folks, tonight too. So, she's at the bottom of her drink.
Yeah, I drank that fast.
Good. Hey, you know what? I appreciate that. I respect that. All right, let's see what Gregory has to say here. Cyber already covered that one with the planet being by Kree. Hard to stand up the range of Tom, but she seems like a decent foil. Okay, with Sylvie and Sophia DiMartino. Yeah, I would agree. I think that a comment I wanted to make about that whole topic is just that I think that one thing that Marvel has shown they love to do with these Disney Plus series is they like to bolster secondary characters at times and like really like elevate them, like they did with Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, you know what I mean? And like with John Walker to some extent in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They like to really blow them up and like elevate them on the shows to where it's very centric. Like it's very focused on them. And I feel like that's the same thing they're doing with Sophia DiMartino's character. They're making her more impactful than maybe she actually is. And I will say this though, I like Sophia DiMartino's look. I like how she looks as Lady Loki. Like as a woman, I find her very individually interesting. Like her face, her facial expressions, her hair, her whole like vibe. I find I'm not
she is just so you know, like that's not what she looks like in the comics.
Yes, I understand that.
So like that was a bit of that was a disappointment when she was first introduced. She doesn't match, kind of like the look of the comics. But I do like her look. I did watch, somebody said on there that, you can tell that a girl directed it because she puts her hair in a ponytail before she fights. And I'm like, yeah, those are the small details that, girls think about that guys don't.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but did you notice that her like headband, like Loki has, is missing a horn?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, if you notice through the whole episode, all of a sudden she loses the other horn, and then all of a sudden she loses the whole getup. I'm wondering if that is actually going to play into anything, because to me that was like one of those small like little, I don't know, Easter eggs almost of maybe there's something else to this. Why does she only have one horn? Why, because I even noticed it in the first episode when you first got, or the second episode where you got introduced to her, she only had one horn, and I just saw it in the trailer that you just dropped earlier, and noticed that she only had one horn, and I'm like, why does she only have one horn? So I wonder if that's a telltale to something that we'll see in the future. I thought that was just an interesting little observation.
I noticed that too, Cyber, and I really actually thought it was her actually shedding her Loki persona into Enchantress, right? Like as she evolved from one character to another. To me, that's kind of what I thought was happening, right? Because she was introduced, and the first thing she says is, "I'm not a Loki," right? So I mean, like that's why you're showing up with only the one horn. But as she moves on, you can see that she is not, and she has a plan in place, right? So she's constantly has that divide between her and Loki going, I'm not, this is not what I am.
Yeah, there's very much, I think, like a sense of like her wanting to reject the Loki persona, like not wanting to be anything having to do with being a Loki, like, you know what I mean? And she seems to be more informative when it comes to like variance and that whole like terminology and that whole knowledge base. She seems to have a very good sense of like what's going on with the TVA, like almost like she really like has, like information about the TVA that other people don't have. And it's an interesting thing because like it makes you wonder, like, what is her backstory? Like, I mean, how did she become a variant, to begin with? What has she been doing for the last, 10 years or whatever? Like, what is her deal? And, of course we want to know what the motivations are in terms of like the TVA, but at the same time, I feel like, again, I feel like I like what Sophia Di Martino is doing with the character so far. I think Cyber's definitely correct that it's not like an Oscar-worthy performance or something like that. I'm not trying to like overblow it, but like for what it is, the actress has been very good, I think, in the show. But moving on with Loki episode 3. So okay, after everything we know at this point about the TVA and like the fact that it's staffed by Variance, they're not just people created by the TVA. What are your thoughts, guys, on what we know about the TVA now compared to after episode 1 and your reflections on the TVA then? Like, what kind of differences do you have, Yvonne?
Not much, really. Like, I don't have a lot really yet because I don't have it's just kind of briefly mentioned. I think about Mobius. I look at the staff, like they're all variants because they've done something to the time, right? So it's almost like there's going to be more that's coming where I can form a better thought of what it is. But at the moment, I'm still trying to play it out in my head going, okay, how does this affect this and this timeline and what's happening here, right? Like there's just so much happening at the same time. But when it comes to Mobius, especially Owen Wilson, I can't help but think of every cheesy rom-com that he's ever been in, in the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, we talk about that all the time. Cyber loves to minimize Owen Wilson as an actor. You're not a huge Owen Wilson fan, are you, Cyber?
No. He's okay, but he's usually the same thing in everything he does.
Yes, I do agree with that. I was surprised that they cast him because Loki is he brings so much energy. So I like how they're playing it out, but I'm not a huge Owen Wilson fan either. So that one took me a bit by surprise.
Well, I mean, as far as the TVA goes, I'd say that I guess my perception hasn't really changed that much either from episode 1, but I do feel like, and I've talked about this before on a previous review, I feel like at this point, my theory at least is that there is no timekeepers. Like there are no tangible beings that are called the timekeepers. Like if they were there, they're gone. Like they're dead or they left, they went to a different planet or different universe or whatever. I think that like Ravonna Renslayer and like the other judges and the other like higher up type officials or employees of the TVA are just like blowing smoke. Like they're maintaining like a falsity in terms of like, you know, these deities like that everybody at the TVA idolizes as like gods. I don't think they're even there. I think there is no timekeepers, and the TVA is just like a headless organization that is being, you know, based on a premise that may not be reality. Like when in terms of like the sacred timeline premise might be bullshit. You know, like who knows? By the end of the series, we could find out that, you know, like maybe there's more going on there than like that we know of. I feel like Miss Minutes really simplified the whole, you know, war between like, you know, different realities and everything that led into the sacred timeline. Like she made it very clean and cut and like, you know, fact orientated. We'll have to see what actually happens overall in the series. But from Gregory in the comment section, stereo indeed. I'll definitely would like to jump on with you in the future. Hell yeah, Gregory. Yep, stereo indeed, man. Just let me know when you want to get together. If you see me schedule a show, put yourself on it, man. Do your thing. Hard to stand up to the range of time. Oh, okay, but she seems like a decent foil. Okay, that was about Sylvie. Okay, I caught up. I just wanted to make sure. Oh no, here we go.
No, you're not.
No.
Now I got
There's
it.
a lot of other shit.
All right, from David R. Thank you, Cyber. Indeed, she basically suffers from Star Trek TNG syndrome, where every last person on the show was hosed by the casting of Patrick Stewart. The Next Generation. I got it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty astute.
Bravo.
Yep. Hey man, David brings his A game to the comment section. There's actually a lot more to unpack with that planet, but it might not be relevant to the show as of yet. That's the planet that is in the Loki episode 3 episode.
Might be an Easter egg to, you know, Secret Invasion, or, you know, the Marvels coming out. You know, it could be, you know, something like that too.
You've all noticed in that last Loki trailer promo that they showed that scene that people think is Black Widow still at Vormir. Did you see that in the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Did you see it?
It looks like Loki, female Loki now.
Yeah, it does. And I'm super disappointed because at the beginning I was like, Sacred Timeline, Black Widow. And now I'm just like, oh, that's just female Loki. That's just
I don't want to be too negative, but whenever I hear like fan theories like that and everything, people saying like, oh, it's Black Widow. It's like it's Natasha at Vormir still alive. I'm just like, no, I don't believe it. Like Marvel Studios so far with their limited experience of like killing off characters, it seems pretty finite. You know, like, I mean, we'll see if they decide to do like a digital Tony Stark type deal when they do Ironheart on Disney Plus eventually, which I don't know how I feel about that whole concept yet, to be honest with you. I think it's Ironheart, isn't it, Cyber?
Yes.
Yeah, thought so.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, yeah.
If the episode ending is real versus an enchantment illusion, it is possible that we could get an insane cameo like Quasar or Captain Marvel, but that would be an almost unreal expectation at this phase. What do you think, Cyber? Do you honestly think that we could see Captain Marvel or Quasar or somebody like that pop up in the series?
I mean, you never know. You never know with Marvel because they've given us weird cameos that, you know, haven't even fully been explained. I mean, look at the cameo at the end of, you know, Guardians Volume 2, you know, when they were supposed to go into talking about the Atom. You know, I mean, there are definitely things that Marvel does that, you know, they'll hint at something but won't fully show it. So, I mean, this is a good possibility. You never know. We could see Captain Marvel because Captain Marvel has been really established now. But at the same time with Quasar, we really haven't had too many kind of like Easter eggs about the character. So I don't know about Quasar, but definitely I think maybe Captain Marvel, possibly, maybe, we never know. Just like with any other character, it's very possible because we don't know exactly where Marvel has taken this. And I mean, you know, kind of goes back to the whole WandaVision theory about Mephisto. This is another thing that people are bringing up again in this series is Mephisto because of that picture that Owen Wilson sees at the beginning in the very first episode of the devil in that church. And that has been a huge, circulating theory again. Maybe Lady Loki is really Mephisto in disguise. I mean, there's so many things going on that you can't, keep a full length on until you actually see every single episode, until they actually reveal exactly what's going on. So, I mean, that there's a possibility, then there isn't a possibility. So you just got to keep your mind open, and hopefully you get something that you're looking forward to.
We got David R. talking about Captain Marvel. It is critically important to never listen to any celebrity. Yes, I agree. If you ignore her off-screen comments, the film wasn't as bad as its reception. Hey, if you want to be positive about Captain Marvel, David, get after it, brother. That's exactly what I was getting at, David, from Gregory. I guess probably again on Captain Marvel. Hey, you know what? Look, I'll fight with all of you Captain Marvel lovers. Like, I don't care, man. Like, it sucks. So that's all I have to say. I mean, I'm not going to agree with you. I'm not going to bow down to like Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige and shit for Captain Marvel. The One Born is actually from the comic books, but I'm not sure about losing both horns and eventually the crown altogether and the possible symbolism involved. Great comment as usual. From David R., my initial response was the missing horn was the phallus horn. Great. Love it. Love it, David. Love the whole concept of having the word phallus on our live stream. That's great. Very old term. I haven't heard that word in a while. But anyways, so why don't we get into the Rotten Tomatoes reviews? Because that'll be a nice little change of pace, and I find them interesting personally. I want to become a Rotten Tomatoes like registered reviewer myself. I wonder how you do that? Like, I like some woman on Twitter just followed me the other day, and she's a official Rotten Tomatoes reviewer. And
you have to meet a certain criteria, and you have to do an application, and then they go through the process with you. And if you meet those criteria, then you can become one. But you have to meet those criteria. Like, one of the things is you have to be, like, for a full year, you have had to work in some sort of publication and giving reviews on something to even be interested in, or even to qualify to even take the application.
I see. That makes sense. It does make sense. So basically, as far as the Rotten Tomatoes reviews goes, what we're going to do here with this segment is just basically I'm going to flip over to Yvonne and to Cyber, read some of these reviews, and then get their opinions and their takes on the reviews, whether or not they agree or disagree or think they're like delusional or whatever. So
I'm delusional.
I am too. I am too. I'm delusional. I'm a meth addict, according to my buddy Frankie. Like all kinds of stuff.
Sweet.
Maybe next I'll become a woman. I'll become like a Lady Jeff.
You could be Jefferina.
Yeah, Jefferina. Okay, so from Melody McCune, Geek Girl Authority, I think this episode did an excellent job of establishing a rapport between Loki and Lady Loki, also known as Sylvie. In-depth character work is a necessity for any TV series. We need to root for our core characters. What do you think, Yvonne?
Yeah, I think the rapport was definitely noticeable. I mean, it was noticeable so much that people are pretty sure that they love each other, and there's going to be some weird action happening later on. So yes, there was a rapport there. We enjoyed the rapport. I think it was really good. I'd like to see Sylvie go a little bit more deeper, but yeah, I think that's an on-brand comment.
What do you think, Cyber?
I get where she's coming from, like the repertoire between Lady Loki and Loki. Yes, I definitely agree there. And their chemistry, I don't think it was 100% on point, but I definitely agree that they had some good chemistry going. I thought that the scenes that the were working together in and keeping the story going was really well done. And I think definitely out of the two, Hiddleston had a little higher of a better comic or comedic timing, I feel, in a lot of their scenes together. I mean, that scene where she gets blown away by the lady at the house when they're trying to figure out where to go, and then he gets blown after he takes on You know, the appearance of the dead husband or whatever, who knows what he is, and he still gets hit. That was like so hilarious, and I thought that was probably one of the best scenes of them together. And then of course the scene later down where they're on the submarine or whatever you want, the subway that they're on, and he's like getting drunk and she was asleep and stuff. That was really good chemistry too. But yeah, all in all, I would say that definitely I do agree that they had great chemistry, but I don't think it was like the greatest chemistry I've seen in a film or TV series.
Okay, I think that's very fair, which of course I expect from you, Cyber. So from Emet Asher Karin, Twitter.com, this episode did not feature Mobius at all, which really made it clear how much the show is riding on his presence. His absence throws everything off. Cyber, agree, disagree?
Let's see. I mean, yes, the lack of Mobius in this whole episode was interesting, I thought. I was like really surprised that Owen Wilson didn't make any sort of appearance in this episode. So that did kind of like light a light bulb above my head, light bulb. And basically it brought to mind that, yeah, I mean, I don't know 100% if I agree with that, everything is hanging on Owen Wilson's character, but I definitely think it plays into the storyline that he has an integral role in what's going to happen with the rest of the series. So yeah, I kind of agree, and I kind of disagree.
Yvonne, do you have any thoughts on that review?
Yes, the TV show is called Loki because it's about Loki. And not Mobius.
Wow. She enlightened me.
I like Mobius. I thought he's a good character. Again, not a big fan of Owen Wilson. I think he does really well with Loki, so they bring a lot of that comedic, response from people. But this episode wasn't comedic. Like, this was an episode like this. They were diving a little bit deeper, so I think it would have been weird to have Mobius there. Because you just want to laugh when he's around.
Yeah, I mean, there was some humor in episode 3, but it was like the Loki humor where it's all sarcastic and like negative and everything, and it really is. It's not funny. It's just kind of like shitty, or like critical or like snarky.
Yeah, I laughed at it. I thought it was funny.
I still laughed. Yeah.
Well,
I thought it was on point. Tom Hiddleston. That's what I thought it was.
Yes. Yeah.
After getting stalked by Frankie on the comment section, I am now dead inside, so I did not laugh.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I'm just joking, folks. Come on.
You can watch Loki again and you'll laugh.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just
watch it a second time.
I'm okay. I'm very much alive. My soul is alive. I'm not dead.
He'll laugh so hard he'll start tearing.
Yvonne,
yes.
This is the cross I was telling you about that I wear all the time.
Oh.
Remember,
yes, I like it.
Wear a long ass cross. Like, this is it.
Oh,
so
yes.
I can see how you wouldn't be able to see it like from here. You know what I mean? It is long, but like it is down there. There is actually a cross.
To answer Gregory's question, there, how many movies you got roughly, Cyber? I would say probably around 5,000.
You mean like in physical possession?
Yeah.
He showed us his movie collection, and it was impressive.
Oh, I mean,
that's a lot of years of work.
Cyber, I think, would agree with this 100% from Gregory. Owen Wilson is really great at playing himself. LOL. Yeah, Cyber has said that. Cyber has seconded that multiple times. Believe me, Gregory.
I laughed very hard at that when he posted that. I was laughing very hysterically.
David R. dropped a wow. I don't know what that wow was for. Who knows? Maybe it was me being dead inside or the phallus or who knows. Natasha is dead. Deal with it. LOL. Yeah, she is dead. It's that simple. I mean,
Natasha's dead, and then LOL.
Nobody's ever dead.
It would make
Look
no
at
sense
Loki.
to bring Natasha back to life. It would make no sense. It wouldn't do anything for the MCU. Like let Yelena Belova step in and become the new Black Widow. I mean, I think she could end up being like the Monica Rambeau of the Black Widow film, personally. we'll see.
But in the comics, they do a face swap, so it technically is still Natasha. So Natasha really wouldn't be dead.
There are people out there who believe that is Natasha, like the Yelena Belova character is Natasha somehow. I don't know how that makes sense, but like Cyber, you
She wears the vest in Endgame, so it like she wears her vest in Endgame, so that's why people are pulling that comparison.
I've also heard, and other like people have brought this up, that basically what happens is at a point during when Black Widow is supposed to be taking place, instead of Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow going to deal with what's going on with the Avengers, they actually, Belova decides she's going to take her place because, I don't know, the original Black Widow's dealing with something. And so she gets that technology, is be able to put on the face that looks like Natasha, and she's the one that ends up sacrificing herself. Because that was another thing that I didn't get in Endgame, when she all of a sudden decides, I'm going to sacrifice myself. She got very emotional and all this kind of different things. She was very different than the Natasha we're used to. So, I mean, a lot of people have said, oh yeah, she's changed, because of all the events she's gone through and stuff like that. But her training is to teach her, just like we were talking about Captain Marvel earlier. She was trained to be emotionless. So when she started changing in the other subsequent films, like in Infinity War, and then especially in Endgame, I truly think that is a different person than who the original Natasha Romanoff is. So I still think that's a very big possibility that could have been what's her name that we're going to be introduced to in the Black Widow film. So I think that. Yeah, so I think that still is a very good possibility, and I totally understand where people are coming from on that theory, and that I think that's a really good theory because, like I said, when I watched Endgame, the 3 times I saw it in the theaters, I always thought something was off about Natasha. She didn't seem the same to me as she was in the previous films, and that didn't always agree with me.
Yvonne, do you want to opine on that?
Everything that Cyber says, I ditto it. I would, you know what? And the thing is okay. So then I just want to tie this in. That would make complete sense that MCU would release Black Widow after Endgame because they swapped, and it's like, haha, she's alive. That would actually make sense in the timeline. This is announcing, hey, this is what's happening. So if that's what they've done, then yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense in how they're releasing it.
Well, hey, I mean, look, I'm not perfect when it comes to MCU theories and like what they're going to do with at Marvel Studios and everything. They surprise me all the time. So, I think that Natasha's dead and we're not going to see her again in the MCU personally. But we'll see what happens. Cyber, and Yvonne could be right. From David R., if we are dealing with the Council of Kangs or a Legion of Lokis, the distracting splinter bomb scene could be the creation of the variants that staff the TVA. Okay. I get that. I get that whole concept. The Legion of Lokis and the Council of Kangs from the comic books are just basically, as they sound like, they're groups of variants of Kang and of Loki that are together, like as a team, like kind of like from Rick and Morty, the what's it called? The Rick Planet or whatever. Like I forget what it's called, but see what happens. I try to get into Rick and Morty. I don't even know how to explain the terminology. But back to the Rotten Tomatoes reviews. So, okay, from Alan Sepinwall from Rolling Stone. Ooh, Rolling Stone, top critic. The detour is as crucial as, if not more crucial, than everything that happened before, and will come after our odd couple of Lokis make their way back to the TVA offices. And also, it's entertaining as hell. Okay, the detour is as crucial as, if not more crucial than. Yeah, okay. I guess. I mean, I think that I would kind of agree with that. Like, really, episode 1 and 2, like you guys already said, was a lot of Owen Wilson and like Tom Hiddleston. Loki and Mobius just, back and forth, like, buddy, like kind of almost teaming up. And like that was the energy of the episodes. So what do you think, Yvonne? Do you like this this review, the detours, as crucial as, if not more crucial than, everything that happened before and will come after our odd couple of Lokis?
Yeah, I do. It was a detour. We needed to see this part. I think it was crucial. We needed to see some of the reasons why. Like, we didn't get a full reason of why this is being done. But if we go, okay, that's Lady Loki, we can be like, she could be doing it for like a million different reasons, just because she's having a slow day and wants to do it, right? Like, that's the type of energy that Loki normally gives off. This is more in depth. There's something there. There's something that we need to be watching for, and I think that it's it's important. It's important to have that base going forward.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think these reviews are pretty fair. From Sid Ant, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. Ad Laka, IGN Movies. Loki's third episode is a smaller side quest, and while it uses its scale to reveal more about its characters, it's ultimately hampered by some of Marvel's worst storytelling instincts. Cyber.
I would agree with that one, because like I was saying, this is definitely not the best episode of the 3 episodes that they've released. So I would definitely agree it's not the worst, but I would definitely agree with them that, yes, it is a side story trek, and that it definitely is, definitely not the best episode either.
Okay. What do you think, Yvonne? Do you have anything to say about that review?
No, I think it's really hard to because we have an expectation from the first 2 episodes, and it just really lulled this third one, but you needed those pieces for it. Like, you want to be like, oh, I didn't really like it, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I know I needed to watch it so that I can continue watching the show.
Well, let me ask you a question. The next review, Ed Power from the Daily Telegraph in the UK, there was barely any storyline, but it hardly matters. He's another top critic. Do you think that kind of falls into place with what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't I agree. There wasn't really a storyline, but there was the few things that needed to happen, right? Like, so for example, when they're on the train, oh, I saw that face, Cyber.
I was reading a comment, sorry.
When they were on the train, like, we saw Loki when he's singing, the Asgardian language, like Norwegian, when he's singing, the throwing of the cup, like the mirror of that, like, those aren't huge things that needed to come yet. There was things that needed to come from this episode that we have to take moving forward.
So it wasn't a filler episode. It was important. It was valuable.
Yeah, I think it was valuable. I mean, we needed to know about the TVA, and we weren't going to get there without going down that rabbit trail.
I think episode 4 is going to be the episode that really pulls the wool out, like, in terms of who the TVA really is. Like, I think we're going to get the bare bones of the TVA in episode 4. It makes sense chronologically. Like, then you go into episode 5 and 6, right? And that gives you 2 episodes to flush out, like, whatever the, like, ultimate goal is of the Lady Loki / Enchantress Sylvie character. Her, like, whole deal with the TVA can be flushed out. And we see what ends up happening with Owen Wilson's Mobius character in terms of, what his place ends up being in the TVA, when he's awakened and, like, wakes up to the fact that, like, he's a variant. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, like, created by the timekeepers. It's very interesting. It really is. It's very interesting. And I want to take a minute to give Cyber and Yvonne, and I'll start with you, Yvonne. Yvonne, if you want to take a couple minutes and plug your podcast, The Road to Damascus, and shout out anybody you want to shout out, or basically just, say whatever the hell you want to say, just go ahead and get after it.
Just say whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Let loose.
I also have a podcast called On the Road to Damascus. I co-host that podcast. We share inspirational stories that people often don't get to share with the world. So it's not It's lively, but it's not as lively as this. But it's still awesome. We have a great time on it. You can find us on Spotify, on all the podcast platforms on the road to Damascus. And if you have any questions, we have a website, www.damascusexperience.com.
And I will get all that information up for the next time we have Yvonne on the show. I'll make sure that I have graphics that display the website, and she gave me a logo, but I didn't have time to throw it up onto Restream. So next time she's here, I'll make sure I get that logo up, because we like to promote our guest content and everything. It matters to us, and I consider Yvonne a personal friend of mine, just like I do Cyber, and at the end of the day, I want to see things work out for her in the best way possible, and I want her podcast to be successful, because I've listened to 2 episodes of it, and honestly, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to kiss her ass, but I enjoy listening to them. It's different kind of material. We don't typically get into politics or religion here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, but for those of you out there who ever wondered what the hell this long necklace is that I wear, it's a big ass cross. And that's it. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. I mean, you can figure out what you want, what that means and whatnot to me, but it's not there for no reason. So, Cyber, do you want to plug anything, brother?
Well, of course, if you enjoy our streams and want to check out my solo channel under Cyber Shark on YouTube, go ahead and check that out. I always put up 2 videos a week, usually on Thursdays or Fridays and Sundays. That will be changing probably soon. Hopefully not. I mean, my days off are changing a little bit, but that shouldn't really be affected. But if you want to check out new content, I do reviews, all kinds of stuff, unboxings like that. Definitely go check it out. Like, Jeff says, we're on Rizzle. Check out Rizzle, the app. It's a really great app. You get to, talk and experience fun things. It's very similar to TikTok. Also on TikTok under Cybernetic Shark too as well. We're on Stereo. We're on Anchor. I mean, you can pretty much find me anywhere on any of those platforms under Cybernetic Shark. I do pretty much, continuous content on those as well. But most of my content is for my YouTube channel, so definitely check that out. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe, people. It's real fun time if you enjoy these streams, especially. Just check us out. Check out Jeff on Rizzle too as well. We do a lot of collaboration on there too as well. On Stereo, like he was saying before too. Check that out. It's a brand new app. I don't think it's been out very long, but it's a really great podcast live streaming podcasting system that's really fun. I've listened to some of the podcasts on there and they're really enjoyable. You can get in on the conversations, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, definitely check that out too.
On YouTube, catch the eye of my ideal customer.
Thank you, Cyber. Sorry about that. Most definitely.
God?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. I apologize. No, thank you very much, Cyber. I can honestly say that no matter what happens in the future, Cyber is going to beat me on like YouTube longevity, because like he got on there a lot like earlier than I ever did. So, I'm gonna be always looking up to Cyber when it comes to YouTube. But all right, so final segment, something interesting here. Change it up, some game changing shit. Give me 1 second. I'm just adding a little wrinkle here to the stream. We're gonna play the new Robert Pattinson Batman trailer. And with the Riddler and the Penguin and like Catwoman and like all these interesting characters, they're bringing back the whole slew of Batman villains from back in the day in this new Batman film. They might even have the Joker. And believe it or not, I've actually heard rumors that it could be Johnny Depp. He could step in and play the Joker in like whatever direction the new DCU goes in. I think Johnny Depp would be great as the Joker. Personally, I do. What do you think, Yvonne? What do you think about Johnny Depp as the Joker?
Yeah, I can see it. He would be great at it. Yeah, he just has the Joker is just he just has that personality, that sarcasm, and Johnny Depp can do that well.
Cyber, what do you think? This is right in your wheelhouse.
Oh well, you know how I feel about Johnny Depp, and anything he's in, I'll watch. I don't care how bad the critics say it is.
Oh, you mean
I'll watch anything.
Johnny Depp got screwed by that freaking lying chick that?
Oh, I know it's a horrible situation, but you reap what you sow. Unfortunately, what they say, don't put things where you shouldn't be putting them, and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. But anyways, yeah, Johnny Depp, I absolutely love that man, and I would totally watch him play the Joker. I think he would be fantastic.
Yes, I agree with Cyber 100%. I agree with Yvonne 100%. That was my initial thought when I first saw the rumor. I was like, oh God, please do that. Like, I mean, you can get him cheap right now after what happened with him and what's her name. I mean, like he's not going to demand his normal salary from some kind of project like that. So, it's weird and sad, but like he's almost in like a retroactive place like Robert Downey Jr. was in before Iron Man, kind of like that's where he's at. Johnny Depp as an actor right now, he's kind of like out there, just hanging out there and everything. I feel like, are you kidding me? If they brought him to the DCU, he wouldn't just be another villain. He would actually like deeply, organically affect whatever direction they go into with the DCU in terms of their films and and everything with their characters. But all right, I'm going to play this trailer. We're going to react to it quick, and then we're going to peace out on y'all.
Your secret friend.
Underneath the bridge.
Who?
Topper sprung a leak, and the animals I've trapped
Haven't a clue.
all become my pet.
Let's play a game. Just me and you. Any of this mean anything to you?
You're becoming quite a celebrity. Why is he writing to you?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Whoa! This guy's crazy!
You're part of this too.
How am I part of it?
You'll see.
Okay. Just really quick, before we even get into that trailer, from the comment section, David R. Depp would be a fun choice, though he may be a bit aged out for it. Granted, DCEU doesn't seem to burden itself with nothing to bother, or long-term plans, or plans in general, so why not? Continuity, or whatever.
Continuity.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Yvonne. That's why you're here. Make me look better. Should have just let
Jeez Louise.
Just helping you, Jeff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, okay, as far as the trailer goes, I don't know what to say. I think it's ridiculous. Like, the more I watch it, I swear to God, it gets better every time. Like, I think it gets better every single time I watch it. I notice another little detail or wrinkle in the trailer, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I like that because I like Bruce Wayne. I love Batman. I mean, I'm sorry, but I know it's a trailer, and like, you know, who knows, you know, in terms of maybe that's like all the best scenes out of the whole film right there. Who knows? But like, honestly, that friggin' scene when you see Batman rise up from the ground around that crowd of people or whatever, and he like elevates up and shit, like, was dope. And when he like beats up that dude, like the Legion of, you know, Jokers, whatever the hell it's called, I think that is potentially maybe from like the DC comics, when he beats up that dude, man, and then like comes back and like double taps him real quick when the guy's on the ground and shit, and he's like, I am vengeance. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, that's how I feel about it. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, that's Batman right there. I don't care if that's Robert Pattinson or whatever. Like, that shit sounds fucking awesome. So, pardon my French, everybody. Yvonne.
That's not French.
You're right. It's very American. Yvonne,
get it right.
What did you think of the Batman trailer?
Okay.
The time you saw it?
No, this is actually the first time I've saw the Batman trailer. So I've actually never seen it before. I quickly Googled, because I wasn't on camera, all the cast that was in it, so I can quickly see who's in it. The cast lineup looks great. Okay. You know what? And Gregory actually just put it up in the comments too. This is like the how many version of Batman there has been. Like, there's been so many, and to be honest, I don't actually have a favorite out of any of them, because there's one thing or another thing that just doesn't make it successful every single time. Like, I just don't. Like, I could just remember watching, you know, Jim Carrey as the Riddler, right? Like, that's what. But this actually looks really good. I looked at the cast. The cast looks really good. It looks well done. When you said Robert Pattinson as Batman, I'm like what? He's a sparkly vampire. Like,
you saw Paul Dano as the Riddler there at the end. That's who that was. Paul Dano was the Riddler.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, this one I actually would go to the theaters and watch with my kids. So I'm just gonna say, this better not disappoint. Like, this better not be one of those movies where I saw everything in the trailer. So we'll see. We'll see.
Cybernetic Shark.
Well, first off, I am not a huge fan of Robert Pattinson at all. So when they announced that he was being cast as Batman, I was not for this movie at all. But that very first trailer, though, that they put out changed my mind. But not because of Robert Pattinson. It was because of the phenomenal cast that has been put into place in this film. From Paul Dano to Colin Farrell to I forget what's his name. The guy that's playing Commissioner Gordon. I always forget his name. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright. All these actors are the reason why I want to see this film. And the trailer looks really good. It does. This is the first time I've seen this one. This one's different than the first one. But this looks like it's going to be a probably halfway decent film. I know they've done Batman a million times. You know, they've changed him up from, you know, Adam West was the original to, you know, you got Michael Keaton, you have Val Kilmer, you got George Clooney, you got Ben Affleck. I mean, you've had several different versions, of course. But at the same time, this one, I don't know if everyone knows this, but this is actually supposed to be an alternate universe version of Batman versus the DCEU itself. So this is not supposed to be in the continuation. Actually, Ben Affleck is still supposed to be the current DCU version of Batman. So this is also supposed to show Batman when he's younger, when he's first starting out as well. So we're going to be getting a whole different story this time around. And so that kind of interests me, but at the same time, the trailer itself makes it look very appealing, even though I am not a big fan of Pattinson being Batman. But that cast pulls me in every single time, and that's the reason why I'll go see it.
Thank you very much, Cyber, as usual. Appreciate your comments. Well, at the end of the day, I think that it's a good point that Cyber made, and what we're going to be seeing in this movie is Batman Year 2. This is the second year of Batman, so he's been Batman for a year. and he has the partnership with the police and Jim Gordon and Jeffrey Wright. I'm sorry, but like, wow, man. I mean, he's going to be Uatu the Watcher in the What If series, and I think he's going to be great in that. And he's a great actor. Like, you want to talk about a very talented actor. Jeffrey Wright's great. So him as Jim Gordon, I love. And we could, I mean, I'm not going to pull it all up right now and get into it because it's too much to talk about. But I mean, look, we've got Colin Farrell as the Penguin in this film. All right. That's awesome. I love Colin Farrell. And, just like Yvonne said, and Gregory commented, there's a lot of red flags going on behind the scenes and red flags for the film as well. I apologize about that, Gregory. The casting is very strong, though, so we'll see. It is. It's very strong casting. John Turturro plays Carmine Falcone, like the mob boss or whatever, like they're bringing back all of like the old Batman comic book villains and everything, like the Arkham Asylum types and everything like that, other than the Joker. And we might even get the Joker in this. So we'll see what happens. Two-Face is going to be in the film. I've heard, like, it's been rumored that Two-Face will be in it, and it'll be Matthew McConaughey playing the character. That is another rumor, like a major rumor that's been out there. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Matthew McConaughey as a villain. I think that would be awesome. I think that if they had Matthew McConaughey to this movie, if they had Johnny Depp as the Joker, even for a cameo, like, it just elevates the movie so much that it won't even matter what Robert Pattinson does. But in terms of Robert Pattinson as Batman, I'm not worried about him playing Batman. I'm worried about him authentically and like genuinely playing Bruce Wayne in a way that is believable, because that's an important concept when it comes to Batman movies. Like, that's one thing about the Dark Knight trilogy is that I forget his name off the top of my head. Cyber, who played Batman in the Black Knight trilogy?
Black Knight trilogy. Oh, Dark Knight trilogy. You mean Christian Bale?
Yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Yeah, I mean, Christian Bale was he sold it as Bruce Wayne. Like, he was great. So did Michael Keaton. I'm wondering how Pattinson's going to be able to pull off, Bruce Wayne. We saw snippets of him in the trailer. I love the whole idea, the whole concept that they're going back to the roots of Batman based on like the whole detective aspect of Batman. Like, that's what they're really trying to do. But listen, it has been put out to me really quick that like the guys want to go, and I do too. Like, you know what I mean? It's just fun doing this show. I could talk about that Batman trailer forever, but all I can say about it is it's awesome. And thank you, Gregory. David R., thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, brother. I will call you either after the show or tomorrow or something. And Yvonne, I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for being on here again.
Thank you for having me.
You are as valuable as always. Your contributions were well appreciated and respected. You're a great addition, great guest. And you're representing for the female MCU fans out there. So like, there must be a lot of pressure.
No, I feel pretty confident. So.
Oh, I can tell.
You should.
You're a very confident woman. There's no question about that. And I will talk to you soon too, Yvonne. Just wait. But Cyber, I love you, brother. I know you get tired of me calling you all the time and shit like that and whatnot. And I know I'm super talkative and everything and long-winded, but I mean well. And I like working with you. You're a good guy. And you got to give me credit, folks. I didn't add Cyber and Perry Ramsey to the team at the MCU's Bleeding Edge because I'm stupid. So, obviously, even on a bad day, Cyber handles his business. But listen, subscribe to the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel. Please subscribe to any podcast distribution platform out there for the MCU's Bleeding Edge podcast. Like us, follow us. Please, we'd love to get a review from somebody on anything, on YouTube, on the podcast distribution platforms. Even if it's bad. At least it's a review. It's something, you know, we'll take it. If you don't like us, that's fine. Let us know. You know, I mean, if you want to maybe potentially hook Frankie up with some of Joe Biden's medication real quick to help him kind of like, you know, come back to reality and everything, that might be helpful. But thank you, Frankie. Thank you for joining in the comment section. It was nice blocking you. And, you know, I just want to, again, thank Perry Ramsey for, you know, being a loyal, you know, part of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. And overall, we really appreciate all the support we get from family, from friends, from spouses, you know, from strangers, for everybody. Much love to Sakar, freeforums.net, and the Podcast of Champions. Much love to the Rutledge and Broadcasting Network. Mark, you're my boy. And Cyber, do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm
You
actually
good?
pretty good here.
Oh, man,
I think we're very lucky here to have such a wonderful guest tonight. Of course, the Yvonne, and
Thank you.
once again having a great addition, actually a female perspective on our cast, and that's really wonderful. And yeah, we just if you enjoy our content, please come back and check us out next Wednesday, people. We enjoy it.
Wow, I can't believe I'm actually getting stalked by this guy Frankie right now, man. This shit is crazy. I've never been stalked before. You know, if I was ever going to get stalked, I was kind of hoping it would be like a hot chick so I could at least get laid. You know what I mean? Like while I was being stalked. But instead I'm getting like some like Napoleon complex dude like talking smack to me in the comment section like a child, which is really kind of pathetic. But Yvonne, anything else to say?
No, thank you for having me.
I'm sorry about my personal drama going on here during the show, Yvonne, but I promise you, regardless of what Frankie the douchebag says about me, I am who I say I am. It's that simple.
Everyone has drama.
Hey, representing the MCU's Bleeding Edge with passion, professionality, and excellence as always. Cyber, Yvonne, you're appreciated and loved. I'm Jeff Sloboda. I am the co-host of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. And I just want to thank everybody very much again. Love all of you. God bless you. And we will see you again, as Cyber said, next Wednesday evening at 9:05 p.m. Eastern, 6:05 p.m. Pacific. Look out for the podcast. It'll be out tomorrow. The MCU's Bleeding Edge. Peace.